Hello and welcome to the MyWhoosh Championships for 2023. It's the women's stage three. Yes, we've done 1, 2. Now we're into stage three, and things are getting progressively more difficult as we make our way through the championships. We're here in the studios for the women's race, and I'm in the studio with Emma Martin. My name is Matt Payne, and we're going to be bringing you all of the action all the way through the stages and, of course, onwards into the Sunday Race Club. And Emma, yesterday's action, I caught up with it. Oh, my goodness. I'm not going to give any spoilers, but it was brilliant to see and such diversity of tactics.
Oh, absolutely. Throughout the four different categories in this women's stage race, we've seen some very different things play out. And all credit to the women because they have made some really fast, furious, and great watching.
I always say that a race is made by the riders, but the terrain frames it. It really sets what the riders can do, and you can't paint a massive masterpiece, a mural on a small canvas. We've got a really big area for these riders to cover, and lots of different types of texture to it in terms of the mountains, the sprints, the terrain that we go through in the different worlds.
Well, and we have got a very different world coming up today and a very different course profile because it is getting more of a climbing stage today.
It is indeed. Now, you just saw the Elephant Rock there. Let's have a look at the stage and where it goes. So,
So we are heading around what is being classified as a medium mountain stage today in Alula. So we have a profile for you, 50 kilometers, 515 meters of climbing, and most of that comes in two category 3 climbs. The first climb, the Canyon Peaks climb, coming at 14.3 kilometers today, and then at 46.5 in the latter stages today. We have the Heritage climb, and that checkered flag is a kilometer after that climb finishes today. Along the way, 5 sprints as well, 2 before the first climb. So fast and furious out of the start pens today with that first sprint coming at 3.8k.
a really interesting profile this summer, and we've got hills in there before and after our classified climb number one, and they are going to change things, aren't they? Because it is a very bumpy start coming in. We've got a couple of potential attack points before the first two sprints. Then we've got the climb. We've then got a sprint almost immediately after the climb. And it's only, I think, 7.5 kilometers or so from the top of the Canyon Peaks climb to the third sprint. And that is a big downhill section.
It is absolutely, Matt. You are quite right. It is not flat in the transition stages between these two climbs today. So there are indeed places to attack, places to recover, but it's going to be really interesting to see how the tactics from our women riders today play out.
So we have all four categories set on the start line waiting to go. Category 1 in yellow, category 2 in green, category 3 in blue, and category 4 in red. And our riders on staggered race starts. The first riders away will be our category 4 riders. And it was great to see so many of our teams entering into the race. So let's run through our teams with Team Pans.
Yeah, indeed, and some good riders in here. This is, Ella Vink is in here. Phenomenal effort over the last 2 days to show exactly what she's made of.
So our next team is a Psycholic team, another good, strong team.
Yeah, absolutely, and we're seeing some fantastic performances throughout as well.
So Psycholic team done. Our next team are Cycle Sisters, and gotta say, great riding by Liberty Dalsey yesterday.
Oh, absolutely. She took the race to everybody else and she made Vink work really hard. Dallasay crossing the line first yesterday.
So Cycle Sisters are done. We're going to go down to the jerseys awarded for stage 2.
Yeah, so stage 2 jerseys from yesterday. Ella Vink coming across the line and holding on to that lead. Amy Loxley going into the Queen of the Mountains spotty jersey. Dallasay holding the Masters. Giraldo the white jersey. And Vink also holding the sprint.
So 5 jerseys for different riders in them. And the riders today, of course, competing for the sprints, the mountains, the overall in their respective categories. And I was very impressed, I have to say, by the aggressive racing shown in category 4, and the fact that we don't just have a clear winner, and some real battles there. Loxley coming into the mountains. Really interesting to see two mountain scoring opportunities today.
Yeah, absolutely. And not just that, Matt, that finish yesterday. Well, actually, the finish on day one and day two from category 4, they really have given us some phenomenal racing and different tactics to how we've seen in the other categories. So we are in with Ella Vink at the moment, and Vink is on that start line with the rest of the category 4 starters. The clock is ticking down, the power is winding up through those pedals as away go category 4 on stage 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships for 2023. So Madeira is leading this group out, and she is winding up the pace. Smithson is in there as well, and phenomenal riding from Smithson yesterday, being in that breakaway group of 5 until very close to the latter stages of the race. Vink is here too, Madeira and Peglio, Lenore, all of these riders coming out of the start pen and cleanly away.
And this part of the world, this is one of the very original worlds actually on MyWhoosh, if you go back and wind back the clock. But it's also a world that I really love to see when we race here on the Sunday Race Club, which happens every weekend, every Sunday. The riders are out and racing on different courses in MyWhoosh. We use this route fairly regularly with the Elephant Rock. You saw that on the graphic at the start, and it really is a very, very fast changing terrain, and yet at the same time, there's not too many knife edges, so it's not, maybe not as critical to be right on your game. So good world for stage 3.
Yeah, absolutely. And a really interesting world as well, because whilst we've got a pretty flat start out of the start pen, you can see on the top right-hand corner of your screen on that graphic as we're about to sweep round that right-hand bend, you can see the first climb coming. And there are constantly rolling hills today, even though a lot of them aren't classified and part of our Queen of the Mountains competition, just those 2 category 3 climbs. It is not to say that the course is not undulating all the rest of the way.
And the riders, of course, now on to day 3 of competition and keeping those legs fresh. But we were seeing, and it was great to have lots of people taking us in to their social media. A number of riders going out and riding on after the racing and making sure that they spin out the lactic acid from racing and keeping themselves in shape to be able to race today.
Oh, yeah, indeed. You caught me Strava hunting our athletes last night, and I was indeed having a look through some of our riders' Strava accounts, and a number of those riders were indeed out a couple of hours after the race finished yesterday, rolling those legs out and doing some recovery on the bike, some active recovery for today.
And making sure that you recover well, really, really key. Day upon day upon day racing really can take its toll. And interesting to see here as we move over. This is the first little rise. It will dip down slightly as we take the right-hand turn. We're going to move around the side. It then dips here, and then it will climb much more substantially. And this is rolling us in towards the ascent. It's not a categorized climb on the course today, but having been unridden on this world, and this is one of my favorite worlds, when I first started riding on MyWhoosh, I used to spend a lot of time around the Alula world, and this is part of the world where it really does start to ramp up, and it's deceptive because you don't think it should be really hard, but actually it does take its toll. And I think we're going to find that anybody who maybe is not recovered, not warmed up properly, is not going to be able to kick off from the moment it goes up, and they may be going to be on the back foot on this climb.
Well, yeah, and I think it's going to be really interesting to see what happens today in this category 4 race, because Dalasay really took it out hard yesterday throughout Australia, and Dalasay really was the rider in this category who made the racing yesterday, and a number of riders went with her and eventually brought her back, and as I said, a group of 5 went away. And Dalasay and Vink really fought for that final line, with Dallasay actually coming across the line first. So it's going to be really interesting to see which riders are the ones who take this out today.
And you can see Liberty Dallasay there that Emma's mentioned in the Masters jersey. That is, and skin suits. That is the green shorts and jersey here. You can see that we've got Vink in that yellow skin suit as she makes her way in and through. So really, really easy to spot the two leaders. And it's almost like having a target on your back, isn't it? It does make it harder to break away because all of our Category 4 riders in the red jerseys. And really interesting, in Category 4, there's a lot less personalization of the avatar. So basically, everybody tending to ride with a helmet, much less color change. Whereas further up through the categories, we do see more, don't we? So we'll see things like bandanas. We'll see the personalization, changing sock colors, maybe changing the bike, just to give that easier identification for themselves and for their teammates.
Yeah, absolutely. And you will see that. You will see in some of the teams, for example, are all wearing the same coloured helmet, or they're all wearing the same sort of headgear, or they're all wearing the same colour socks. And that is just really for the teams to be able to pick out in the pack who their compatriots in their teams are.
And the easy way, of course, to do that is to remember that the rider that you're watching, the stats are up on the top left-hand side of your screen. The positioning on the right-hand side of the screen is the rider that is highlighted in that black bar across the bottom. So we are watching Liberty Dallasay at the moment. And you can see on the right-hand side of the screen, she's the rider highlighted in purple. And the riders around her and the time gaps are being shown as well. Now, this stretch is continuing onwards. This is this big, long pull up here. And we are currently approaching 3 kilometers at 3.8k. We're going to come into our first sprint. So let's see how our riders go as they come through the sprint. So that's going to be coming up shortly. Now, Emma, with 4 categories, category 4, it's often called the base category. It's the standard category, isn't it, in a lot of ways, because we've got a real wide range of riders, and we've got some younger riders, some old riders, but it's very competitive within that, and having the splits between 4 categories is really important, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. The splits between the 4 categories is absolutely essential, and the 4 categories give riders matched racing, and that's what it's all about. There is something for everybody here, but you are guaranteed the racing is matched with riders who are of a similar ability to you, which, you know, allows a proper race field, whether you are category 1, 2, 3 or 4. And now what's interesting here, Matt, is it's Pelagio who is pulling away here. Christina Pelagio, now she is a teammate of Liberty Dallasay, so I'm wondering whether what we're seeing is some team tactics here.
And this is one of the things that we see, isn't it? Because we've got Team Pans, they enter with 5 riders, as did Psycholic Team, and Cycle Sisters. So having those teams of 5 riders really does allow for some really good tactics, some real interplay, and looking after each other. And the one rider who doesn't have that benefit is actually the rider in second place, and that is Musa Al-Mansouri. And in some ways, it is a disadvantage, isn't it, not having teammates? But in other ways, it means you're free to ride your own race.
Well, you are, and there are pros and cons, I suppose, Matt, from everything. And Al-Mansouri, the individual rider. Now, what I'm noticing here is Al-Mansouri did some chasing. Vink was also chasing hard. We're now seeing Liberty Dallasay move up through the pack, but she was very much sat in that pack and just letting everything happen around her. So it is going to be, I think, some interesting games around cat and mouse to see what tactics are in play and who is going to come to the fore today and how these group and team tactics are going to pay out. But Pelagio is a strong rider herself, and at the moment she's the rider pushing on.
And we are now into our sprint. So a quick reminder for everybody, our sprint segments are all 300 meters long. And on those 300-meter sprints, it is the time through the sprint. Not necessarily the first through the sprint, but it's the fastest time through the sprint. So even though you may cross the line first, if you had a big advantage and you were just taking it steady, you would have a slower time than somebody maybe at the back who sprinted through there absolutely flat out. So going to be really interesting to see how our riders get on when they go for this, because it's going to tell us, I think, a lot about the riders, and who is feeling up for it?
Well, I think who is feeling up for it at the moment, you can see on the left-hand side of your screen, Ella Vink takes that sprint from Liberty Dalasay, even though Dalasay was the first rider over the line. This is about a timed effort. So the fastest rider there being Vink, our current leader. And I'm thinking we're just going to get the rest of those results come through. Indeed, we have confirming Ella Vink in that number one spot. Then Dalasay, Loxley, Almansouri, Lenore, Pelagio, Madeira, Smithson, Poulton, Sarasuk, and Tangliaran now at the top 11.
So great riding there as they came in and through. And I'm just having a little look at the time gaps in here. Ella Vink absolutely flying through that sprint.
Yeah, absolutely. She really is on form at the moment, and we've seen her developing through the Sunday Race Club, Matt. You know, she's category 4 rider in the Sunday Race Club, and some of the courses suit her more than others. But at the moment, I'm thinking this longer distance, you know, this 50 kilometres rather than the standard 35 kilometres of the Sunday Race Club for the women really suits her.
I think so, and I think that maybe is the background that is in more road-based or endurance-based racing. But there's something for everybody, and of course there are prizes for everybody as well, because it's an extensive prize list in all of our categories, from categories 1, 2, 3, and 4. And in category 4, Emma, it is a substantial sum for our stage winners, but it's a bigger sum for the overall classifications in the individual and the teams. At the moment, Ella Vink doing a great job holding that yellow jersey. She's got to have her eyes on that $2,500 prize.
Yes, as you mentioned, Matt, there's that individual classification for first prize, $2,500. For the team classification, though, $10,500 in category 4. And you will see as we go through the categories that the prize money adjusts per category. There's also obviously the overall sprint youth Queen of the Mountains and Masters winner as well. But let's not forget the daily prize money. So there is a motivation for pushing on in the day, even if you are not going for the overall. So stage winner today will take $250, the sprint winner $150, and the Queen of the Mountains winner today will take $150 as well.
So a really nice way to kick off your day, your Sunday, as you're on stage 3, and you can see our riders all lined up ready in categories 1, 2, and 3. More and more people joining each of our categories who are waiting in the pens as we get closer to the time and getting their preparation just right. So our next category away is going to be category number 3. So the first step up the ladder from category 4. Let's take a run through our teams who entered the competition. It's the Mr. Worldwide team first of all.
Yeah, and Brittany Litton, we've seen her in the sprints over the last 2 days. Absolutely amazing.
Great to see just how far she was. Our next team is the team from Maniacs.
Yeah, well, Carolus and Walkenhorst are the two riders for me here, both again showing absolutely superb form and great tactics.
Yeah, let's see whether their tactics can hold. We move from our Maniacs into the Feisty Cats team. And who's caught your eye here, Emma?
Well, Jenny Tan's been going very well in the sprints, Matt. She really is one to watch there.
So let's see if she can continue that progress and continue with that. And then in the ICW team, is it going to be Mabin, who's probably your star rider out of this team, out of the 5, or is it somebody else?
Well, Mabin is good, but Lopez and Molina have been phenomenally high performing at the moment. But the thing to note, Matt, this category is so competitive, and we've had 2 sprint finishes, so the time gaps are tiny.
Really interesting to see what that's going to do as we move on in category 3. So the holders of the jerseys at the stage 2. There we go.
Yeah, so Walkenhorst in the yellow jersey for stage 2, category 3. Carmona took the spotty Queen of the Mountains jersey. Barragan in our Masters, Lopez in the sprint, and Carmona in our white under 23 jersey.
So the youngster excelling at the sprint. Sorry, at the under 23 and in the polka dot, the Mountains jersey. And those jerseys following the Tour de France convention pretty much in terms of its jerseys, which is probably the most well-known worldwide. So as our category 4 riders head for, it's going to be 7.5 kilometers. We can see category 3, their time clock is ticking down, ready for their race start. And by stage 3, do you think the nerves have eased off a little bit for them?
I don't know whether they're easing off or whether they're growing. It depends on where you are and how you're performing, doesn't it? And what your team's tactics are and what your role is today as to whether your nerves are high or whether your nerves are low. But a little bit of adrenaline is not a bad thing.
Indeed, it's not. So, category 3 going to be our second category away. They're lined up, ready to go. You can see we are featuring our under 23 rider, Maria Commander, our youth rider, here on the start line. So the riders are starting to get wound up, starting to wind, ready for the takeoff. They're going to catapult their way off of the runway and into the race proper time to make sure that they are all ready for that clock hitting 0 and heading out on to stage number 3 of 7. And away our riders move from start underneath the gantry. Category 3 are away. Who will come across that finishing line first? There's 50 kilometers and 515 meters separating the riders as they come off from the start line. And taking a look on the buzz at the moment, you can just see this is a very quick start. Look at the speed here, nearly 40k an hour for over 40 kilometers an hour at the moment as they go off from that start line. So a very quick start here. And they've seen category 4 go off in front, category 3 with an equally quick, if not faster start.
Yeah, absolutely. And they are motoring well out of that start pen. And the group is all together and really tightly packed as we sweep through these early corners.
Just taking a look down here, Emma, at our riders coming in and through. And it looks to me like this group maybe just a little bit more compact as they come down here than we saw in category 4. Is that because they're going to have recovered faster? Because in theory, they are the next step up in terms of performance? Or do you think that is maybe just nerves because they actually don't want to get left behind?
Well, it could be tactics, Matt. It could well be recovery. And what we would expect is that our category 3 riders probably have a higher training load every week than our category 4 riders, and hence their recovery will be better and quicker. Likewise, our category 2 and then category 1, we would expect our category 1 riders to have the heaviest training load, hence the best recovery and the more regular use to riding multi-day stage races and racing outdoors, indoors, etc., than our category 3 and category 4 riders. However, it's very individual as well, and individuals having the right nutrition strategy, the right rest strategy, and the right recovery strategy is absolutely key. Particularly, they're doing 7 stages over 8 days, and progressively these stages will get harder because of the amount of climbing. And then when we stop climbing, we go into an individual time trial.
And of course, then a rest day, then an epic day, and then the run into our final day. And it's going to be very interesting watching how these riders change and how these riders move. And don't forget, of course, you can tell us. It's not just us about us watching the screens. We'd love to do the research, spend probably 2-3 times as long doing the research as we ever will do, talking about it on the show every single day, plus all the research beforehand. And that's helped, of course, if you get in touch with us. So please do get a hold of us on social media. We'd love to see what our riders are up to. You can catch hold of me. It's at Matt Fixer Payne. And you can catch a hold of Emma at Biking Emma on social media. Make sure, of course, that you go and tag us in all those pictures, all the images. It's really great at the end of the day to see the people behind the avatars and see what you've been up to and see what you're doing, see how you're recovering. We saw some great pictures of people in compression legs and with ice baths. We've seen people with all sorts of recovery training strategies out there. We see pictures of pain caves. It's really good to see that. So please do tag us in. Make sure you tag in at MyWhoosh as well. And don't forget, of course, it's at MyWhoosh on Facebook, as well as Instagram. So make sure that you tag in at MyWhoosh on there. It's at my_whoosh on Twitter, so slightly different on there. And of course, you can catch up with how to jump on, the rule set, and all of the course profiles on mywhoosh.com. But once again, get in touch, send us those images, tell us how you got on, tell us how much your legs hurt on a scale of 1 to 10.
Or how fresh you're feeling.
Well, you're far more optimistic than me at the end of a race stage. I always, I think I've probably, and probably all the riders that we've coached, that we've mentored over the years, are all very sick of the fact that I always say to people at the end of a proper race, you shouldn't be able to stand, you shouldn't be able to walk, you should be feeling violently ill and curled up in a little fetal position on the floor, feeling very, very poorly indeed, because that means you gave it everything. And I suspect our riders are having to be a little bit more circumspect than that and not quite so gung-ho, because if you did that day after day after day, that would be incredible recovery to be able to race all the way through to the end.
Yeah, we mentioned, didn't we, over the last couple of days, you know, it's not just about your legs, it's also about your head and how smart a rider you are. And that also comes back to this recovery strategy, nutrition, the whole works. You know, being smart is absolutely key, and it goes above and beyond just being able to ride your bike. I was about to say, a friend of mine who I used to do mountain marathons with in my 20s used to call it husbandry.
So that is basically the art of being able to look after yourself and keeping your body and your kit maintained. And that is going to be part of it, isn't it? Because remember, I mean, we're putting some serious load through the equipment as well. So it's not just about you and your recovery. It's also about how much work you do on your machinery as well. So say, for example, you're on a smart turbo trainer and you've got your standard road bike and you put it on there after what has been 2 or 3 months of training, the chain's going to have stretched, it's going to have worn the teeth, and we then go do a stage race on top of that, and you're losing power because you are losing out. Every time the chain stretches, it's going to be slightly less efficient. The efficiency level on the bike drops. Your power output then that is measured is dropped, and that is going to affect you. And of course, it's more likely to fail. You're more likely to see that. And we do see people snapping chains. We see people breaking handlebars and parting the bike. So making sure that is really in tip-top condition before a major race, all part of that, and then looking after it, that husbandry through, I think is really key as well. So it really is not just about having the skills to ride, as Emma says, it's about the whole package as well.
Absolutely, and the whole package is what these riders are bringing to this stage race at the moment. We've got our Category 3 women and our Category 4 women on the screen at the moment. Category 4 all together, but really being stretched at the moment by the terrain. They just come off the descent there, so they are 11.3, coming up to 11.4 kilometres. They have gone through sprint number 2, and they are coming towards and moving towards the base of that first Category 3 climb that comes at 14.3K. Our Category 3 riders, on the other hand, still all together out of that start pen and coming round that left-hand sweeping bend. 3.5 kilometres now complete of this 50-kilometre stage. We are on stage 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships with 515 metres of the climb.
So our riders rolling their way in around this long sweeping right-hand bend. You can see the sprint coming up. They're going to make their way in and through. Remember, all those times being accumulated. Now, with us having what is 5 sprints, 2 mountain segments, 4 categories, it is going to be very, very important for us to cover as much as we can, but we're not going to be able to cover everything on the way through, so just a quick heads up on that as we see Agudelo really winding it up. But look at the pace going over the top there of Carlos and Ochoa. They both were powering the way through, getting the timing right on those sprints. Really interesting, and irrespective of the result, some very different tactics there in terms of performance and where they got the timing, because all our sprints throughout the entire stage races on all 7 stages, where we've got sprints. In fact, 6 have got sprints because none on the time trial. All the sprints are 300 meters.
They are indeed, and what is really interesting, we've talked about this on occasion over the last 2 days, is your tactics for sprinting. And as to whether you go off the front and you're first over the line does not normally necessarily mean you have the fastest sprint time. Coming from the back of the pack and moving through and utilising the draft can give you a quicker time. And often when we see the results, it's not necessarily the rider with the highest average watts per kilo that has the fastest time, because technique is also important. Utilizing momentum and technique is also absolutely key. So lots to sprinting. It's not just about having the highest power and being able to deliver the highest power over 300 meters.
So just keeping an eye on our riders as they come through. We can just see Terry Tandigan at the moment in category 3, just starting to stretch a little bit of a lead out on the rest of the group that came through that sprint. And she's pushed on here, and really interesting to see. Loving the Usain Bolt there. So Terry very clearly aware that she's on screen.
Terry Bolt Tandigan.
Indeed, Terry the Bolt Tandigan. There you go. On this climb, on this run through here. Now, this bridge is really interesting because we do this in 2 different directions. This as a climb is horrible. As a descent, it's quite nice and fast on the way down. Climbing it the other way is a whole different ball game. But that's one of the great things about the terrain here as we head out and round. There's some really great landmarks, and the advantage, of course, of being on esports is it's always sunny as well on MyWhoosh.
Yeah, it is indeed. And I tell you what, I'd quite like to be up in one of those hot air balloons, Matt, because that would give you a great view of the racing.
It would indeed. It would indeed. A nice static camera platform used, in fact, was the first form of aerial reconnaissance. There you
Really?
go. Yeah.
Hot air balloons.
Hot air balloons.
You learn something new every day, and not just about cycling.
Yeah, well, there you go. Sad Matt retains very, very weird facts. At least it's not steam trains. Right, onwards. Let's see who's going to have the locomotive power in our other 2 categories. So not far off starting, I suspect, in category 2. A little bit longer for category 1. Just having a little look on the time scores and a little bit of time before the start. But let's take a closer look at category 2 here. Now, category 2, a great category, really competitive, and our biggest field of entries. Our teams kicking off with the strong women.
Well, yeah, they are strong women indeed, because Engström, Para and Hermassen all putting in phenomenal performances.
Phenomenal performances from them, and the Blue Forest Racing. Very interesting to watch their progress on the way through. And with Visser, they've got one of the younger riders here.
They have indeed, with Visser, got a younger rider here, and currently I think the rider in the white jersey, but we will be confirmed in a short while.
Will indeed. Now on to the Beast Mode powered by Rose team.
Yeah, and Haag putting in some great performances, but we've seen Klein and Miller, Zimmerman and Daniel all come to the fore.
So the Beast Mode team followed onto our screens by the Free Riders team.
Yeah, and Gonzalez Ruiz is probably the rider to note here, doing really well in the Queen of the Mountains competition.
I think when we get to the higher mountains, we could well see part of Sky moving on. Let's have a look at the Cycling Stars team.
Yeah, so Cycling Stars, what can you say? But Lopez is probably the rider to pull out there, putting in some really strong performances in both the sprints and the overall at the finish line.
So let's see if they are going to shine today on our stage, the Cycling Stars team. And as Emma said, let's have a look at the jerseys won on stage 2.
Yeah, so these jerseys are indeed the jerseys won on stage 2. So Lopez, the first rider over the line, taking the yellow jersey. Also the Queen of the Mountains competition and the Masters competition. We said she was doing well. Engström taking the sprints yesterday, and we mentioned Nadine Visser indeed taking the under-23 white jersey.
3 jerseys for Lopez on the stage, on our preceding stage, and doing an amazing job. And it just shows you that whether you are 15 or 50 plus, there is great racing to be had on MyWhoosh, and some great riding as well. And they will be our next group of riders away. So you can see categories 4, 3 already down the road. Category 4 currently at about 14.5 kilometres, 7.25 kilometres for category 3. Category 2 will be our next riders away, and the last category who will follow on after them will be category number 1. So the clock starts to tick in to the final countdown for our riders in category 2. We'll watch them head out and away. Emma, it's going to be a fast start, do you think?
From category 2, yeah, I think there's real strength and depth in this field. We saw a big pack yesterday for a lot of the day on the stage, and I think it's going to be really, really interesting. There's a large number of women in this race field in category 2 that can climb and climb really well. So I'm not sure the first category 3 climb of the day is going to do a huge amount of damage, but you never know, Matt. Watch me eat my words.
That would be a sight indeed. So let's take a little look at the riders. They're down on the start line. This is category 2, getting on to the final countdown. So here we go, category 2, ready to roll. It's stage 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships for 2023. This is when the riders know they've got to get those legs in action. The time for talking is over for them. And now they kick out from the start. They come away from the pens. The distance from the pen to the course proper identical for all of our categories. And they sweep around the left-hand bend on to the course. And you can see it's pretty flat out from the start here. Just jumping in with Angie Parra, Lisa Hermansen in this group, all up near the front. You can see that polka dot jersey rolling its way through, as is Visser in the grey skin suit. Our yellow jersey up there, as well as our overall leader. So very, very fast moves here. And we're just in with Lopez, who put in such strong rides last time. Absolutely flying along here and holding those 3 jerseys, as you can see to the side of her name there, the yellow, the green and that blue jersey of Masters leader as well. And this is again very quick out. This descent, this slight descent out here would mean that if you were distance, you're going to have a lot of work to do to catch on, aren't you, Emma?
Yeah, indeed, because it is a fast pack and it is moving really, really well here, and currently just shy of 35 kilometers per hour this pack is moving at. And you can see the rotation on our overhead shot here of riders just moving through and continually moving through the pack and rotating the lead there, which is keeping that pace high as they start to head into that first, I'm going to call it ungel of the day.
An ungel, is that even a word?
Well, it's an undulating course, isn't it? So they must be ungels.
I think Emma's grasp of the English language may well be in question, but it's a good job she's a professor of something other than English, I think. Right. Well, she uses lots of words in all those publications she's written. Okay, let's dive on to the screens. So dive into the racing. Stop Emma throwing one of the timing screens across the studio at me. And we are in with Angie Parra here. And you can see Angie putting down some serious power, but sitting in the wheels very cleverly there as well. And you can see that on the left-hand side of your screen. And let's just do a quick reminder, Emma, for people, if they're just joining us for the first time on MyWhoosh on stage 3 and haven't had a recap of what is in front of them. Top left-hand side, first of all, this is all our rider data.
It is indeed. So you can tell at the moment we're in and watching the rider Olivia Quintero. This is Quintero's stats you can see on the top left-hand corner of your screen. So she's currently doing 162 watts, 215. It is in green, indicating that she is in the draft. When that switches to black, it means her wheels are out in the open and she's no longer benefiting from that draft. She's currently doing 85 revs per minute with a heart rate of 142. She's riding at 44 kilometers an hour with just shy of 3 minutes gone of the race and 1.7 kilometer under her wheels.
So that's top left-hand side of the screen. Top right-hand side of the screen, this is all about the course.
It is indeed all about the course, and this is pretty much like a satellite navigation system for our riders. So you can see at the moment we've got a large blob of green there, indicating that it is all one group, and you'll see the action very, very quickly as riders push on or drop off of the group on there. This is probably my preferred shot to actually see what's happening in the racing, but you've also got an indication below of the terrain coming up, so you can see our rider pack indicated by that green triangle. They're currently on a flat section of course, and you can see the climb coming up in front of them, not too far in the distance. The gradient there is also in that little grey box, so currently 0.5% upwards, 8 meters of climbing done so far, and you can see other indications there of how far they are into the course, so 2.2 kilometers out of 50k.
So top right-hand side, top left-hand side covered, which leads us to the right-hand scrolling bar. And this is a very, it's a data-filled, fast-moving bar. So this is always a one that has us zooming up and down almost as fast as the riders.
Well, it does indeed, because these are our riders in the race. These are the names of the riders, their position in the race, their watts per kilo, how much distance they have travelled, and the time gaps to the leader in the race. So this is a really important screen, not just for us, but also for the riders themselves, because they can see what is going on and they can see what output and power the other riders in the group are doing.
And that is very, very key, isn't it? Because you can see as the riders move through what numbers they're doing, what the time gaps are. And of course, we also have in there the colours that are lit up. So the purple is the rider we're watching, the yellow and the red, the increased power, the sudden attack, the sudden kick. It's a very quick visual indicator. Now, you may see a few other things happen from our riders as well. If you're looking at the riders themselves, we've already talked about being able to do a Usain Bolt style celebration. Our riders can do that, but there's some that are probably even more key for the racing. My favourite and probably the most important one of them all is the indication to do turn and turnabout, or to do through and off, depending on what you use as your vocabulary. And that, I know from personal experience, can vary from region to region within a country, never mind from country to country. But it is a pretty universal hand signal, isn't it? Pointing at the floor and putting a circle in, and it means take your turn.
Yeah, absolutely. Other times we see a flick of the elbow, don't we, in the peloton on the TV when we're watching a stage race, and that is indicating the very, very similar thing. Come on, your turn, let's go, let's move through.
So the subtlety in a peloton, in theory, and it does vary because lots of people get caught out by having different ways of saying this, is basically if you flick your elbow, it means I'm coming off the front, next. So it's almost like, next, hurry up, get on the front, I've had enough, my legs are falling off. The spin means that we're going to do this repeatedly and we are going to work together. And there's an implication, isn't there, when it's said in a small group of the breakaway that we are all taking our turn, aren't we? Because you better not miss one, because we're going to be watching. And there's almost that slight subtlety to it, whereas it's a little less obvious when you do it in a big bunch. It tends to mean let's just get a move on, let's take turns. But when you're in a little group, that can have a different feel to it. So let's see how our riders use those. It is one of the great things about MyWhoosh is that you're able to do that. In fact, you can actually talk to the riders because, of course, you can switch your microphone on and talk to everybody. Whether or not you'd want to do that in the racing itself are very, very different. Now, let's dive back down to the racing because we've got two very critical moments coming up here, haven't we, Emma? We've got the approach to the climb for our Category 3 riders on the right of the screen, and our Category 2 riders at the moment are approaching their first sprint.
They are indeed, and you can see, look at that stretch on our Category 2 riders, and they are not anywhere near that sprint at the moment. So the sprint coming at 3.8, and there it is, it's coming, and the riders have already stretched and moved through here. Now they continue to push on, and you can see the sprint now. The finish banner is up ahead, and the riders are now kicking. So we've got 5 watts per kilo, 7 watts per kilo coming out now. So we've got some big kicks and big pushes throughout the pack. Haag is going here. Hermassen has kicked at 10 watts per kilo. I think Hermassen wants this sprint now. It's going to be really interesting to see how we get the finish. Engstrom has kicked late. Engstrom and Bardeskaya kicked late in that road through that sprint, and they've rolled through. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at who took the fastest time in that sprint, not just who went through it first.
So taking a look at the numbers here, Olivia Quintero comes through to take top spot. Interestingly, Lopez, who was absolutely flying, maybe she wants to add yet another jersey to her collection on the way through here, because she was in second place, Hermansen in third, Engstrom in fourth, Gonzalez in fifth, scoring 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1 points respectively. Really, really key for those riders to go through. And you could see there that the riders that we saw going through first were very different to the riders who we see at the top of the screens. And that is because it is possible you don't even need to be in the main group, do you, Emma?
No, you don't, and it is really interesting. You don't need to be in the main group to set the fastest sprint, and we've seen that in some of the men's racing, actually, Matt, more than in the women's, where we've got riders targeting the sprint competition, and to do that, they're not necessarily riding in the front pack. They are indeed just focusing on the sprints and doing very, very well. It is also interesting because psychologically, any rider going for the sprints in the leading pack doesn't know what is happening behind and how to judge their pace and how to judge their sprint if they want to compete in that competition. So it is a great tactic, but one that normally only works well on an esports platform.
Yes. And
it is very specific.
And even then, it may not work. That is for certain. Now, we're just taking a look. Left-hand side, you can just see the Category 2 on the descent. Right-hand side of your screen, you can see that our riders are now at 17.45k. That means that they are almost midway, if not 2/3 of the way up the climb. This is our first categorized climb. It's Category 3 climb. Canyon Peaks climb here today, so the riders are very much pushing on. They've got about 1 more kilometre. So right hand side of your screen, the riders in Category 4 on that climb. This is where we see the first points being allocated out at the top here. It's 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1 points for Category 2, 3 and 4 climbs, and this is a Category 3 climb. So right hand side, that group continue to push, but we're not seeing an explosive move off the front. It's still a long way from the summit to the finish, so I suspect this is more about making sure everybody's suffering rather than putting in a race winning move.
Well, that is really interesting, isn't it? Because we can see our Category 4 riders there coming up for 18 kilometres. Yep, indeed. And that group is not particularly pushing on, though. I can see what we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 riders. It'd be interesting to see what sort of gap there is there for that Category 3 group as well. Also now coming into the foothills of that climb. So really starting to move on and well and truly into the climbing on the race today.
So the first climb coming up for Category 3, 4 we've seen are well on the way up and about to reach the summit of that climb. It does have a plateau across the top of the climb, and that is a slight chance to regroup versus the course that we had yesterday on Mount Pleasant, where on the climb it is a knife edge summit, and because of that it was absolutely critical to be on constantly as you went over the top. Here there's a little chance to gather your breath before you descend back down, and on the course map that you saw, it was a climb, it's then a spin around the top. Essentially it's a loop at the top of the mountain before dropping back down the opposite direction, so you could go down the road you went up. Our finish is on a separate climb. Now in with Category 1, they have this all in front of them. Let's have a run through our riders and our teams. In category number 1, the Crank Sisters teams, and they are absolutely stacked with talent, Emma.
Oh, absolutely. We saw Quevedo yesterday take every sprint. We saw Jojo Bauer go for a breakaway at the end and go across the line first, and Gemma Brogan was always there or thereabouts covering the moves.
So the next team on your screens is Risky Biscuits, and again some good climbs on here who are going to favour today.
Yeah, so Fua doing really well here. Donny, Biarhead, Geraldo, Ares, Cavajal. I could just keep going on.
Well, let's see if Donny comes into force. She is reputed to be one of the strong climbers. Well, today's suitor, the Asian Warts team in here, and Kokoden and Hadlock riding well.
Yeah, absolutely. Doing really, really well here. All the riders putting in strong performances.
So our next team are the Forza Donny team.
Yeah, and Estrada and Marin are probably the two riders to pick up here, both doing well in the mountains competition, and Marin in the overall.
So the last but not least team are going to be the Golden Wheels team, and three very strong riders. So not a team of five, but a team of three this time.
Well, indeed, and we said yesterday, didn't we? They should be called the Golden Wheel Sprinters, and that is indeed what they should be called. Perhaps they should just be called Sprinting Wheels.
Sprinting Wheels.
They are just absolutely consummate sprinters, the three riders in the Golden Wheels team.
Well, let's see if they've got the jersey. Here we go. This is the big reveal for who is holding which jersey.
Yeah, so stage 2 yesterday, Jojo Bauer in yellow coming across the line first, Marin taking the mountains, Quevedo the sprints, and Jose Valdez the young riders under 23 competition.
So you can see our four different riders on there. And Jojo Bauer yesterday, we really should say something about that before we hit the start line. So sum up, Emma, Jojo Bauer's ride in 20 seconds.
Well, 10K to go. Bauer puts in an attack. She has a lone breakaway, and the gap took around 20 seconds at the finish line.
That only took 10 seconds. You're absolutely
Well,
flying.
you
There you
asked
go.
me to be quick, so I was.
So we are getting ready for the final set of riders to go, where there are Category 1 riders, the elite riders, the cream of the crop, the top of the tree, whichever way you want to phrase it. These are the riders expected to set the fastest time here today. So we are going to see our riders getting ready to go. So you can see they are lined up and ready. Here we go.
So we are in with Hadlock on the start line with our Category 1 riders. We are stage 3, day 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships, and the riders are away. They are up, they are out on the Alula course. They have 515 meters of climbing facing them and 5 sprint segments today before that finish line, which comes after that second Category 3 climb. So the riders are all away from the start pen, and we are seeing that group push through this starting section quickly up to pace over 30 kilometers an hour. Group all still together, 1 or 2 riders just pushing on and snowballing through, just making sure they're in contention and in that group comfortably and ensuring they have a good start.
Well, just seeing our under 23 leader there, just yo-yoing backwards and forwards, not quite getting the modulation of the power correctly on the way through. Let's see whether or not they manage to get that roll back in to speed. Now, this is going to be really interesting, I think, as we make our way in towards the climb. And we're starting to see different agendas emerge. We're watching Jojo Bauer, who's our race leader. She was the firm favourite for me coming in, and I know we talked at length pre-show and about her in pretty much every show that we've done, and in our briefings beforehand and meetings before the racing. For me, Jojo Bauer really was the rider to beat overall, and she's living up to expectation at the moment, but that comes with its own pressures.
Well, it does indeed, and there is some strong competition, Matt, in not just the other teams, but also within her own team, because Gemma Brogan has been on really good form over the last 4 to 6 weeks. Biarhead, Donny and Fua from Risky Biscuits, I think they are going to be there right the way through this competition. And as we've mentioned, in the sprint category, well, it really depends, doesn't it, for the overall of sprints, but the Golden Wheels team are just sprint, sprint, sprint.
So let's see who's going to follow which gender, whether it goes to plan. Category 1 on the left of your screen, Category 4 on the right of your screen. And this is looking pretty feisty at 20.93. They are on to the descent. They've got a long way down, in fact, till they start to rise back up again. And they are making the way down. It's a very quick run down here, and looks pretty strung out.
Yeah, it does indeed, doesn't it? But it's looking to me like we've got 5 riders in a breakaway here in category 4. Now, we had 5 riders in a breakaway in category 4 yesterday, but it was a different 5 riders. Madeira and Peslio are in here today. Vink, Loxley, and Smithson were part and parcel of that 5. But the rider who is missing for me, Matt, is Dalasay. Dalasay was the rider who was really, really aggressive yesterday, and she is not in that top 5.
Well, that's going to be very interesting to see how she gets on and whether or not she finishes. So, just a little heads up for people that what we see on our screens is the game representation that is held centrally, but the game itself runs in the background. Now, it could well be that Dalasay is missing in action and he's still riding on. And one of the things we always say to riders, whether you're coaching, whether you're a manager, or whether you're just a teammate, is you never ever give up until you cross that finishing line. You see it in Grand Tours with time cuts, etc., because the game will record in the background. So the data that's being produced by the riders, even if we're not seeing them on screens, it could well be that they are racing on in the background. So we always say keep on going no matter what until you reach the end of your race, because quite often that data is going to be pulled back in by the system. And that's why, of course, on esports we have a live game, we have an unverified result, and we have the verified result at the end of that, and that makes, of course, a stage race even more tricky, of course, for us to call, for you to follow, but the riders, they make it really fun. And I've got to say a massive thank you to all of our riders for making the racing so aggressive, and we see so many attacks on here. It's almost like condensing the best bits of a long road race into a short road race day after day. And you see that on big tours, don't you, Emma, where there's snow on the mountains, so the riders get pulled, they get put in a bus and shipped to a stage. Some of my favorite stages are when they're 90k, not 220k, because it's just, everybody just goes for it.
Well, and I can guarantee there are no railway crossings on MyWhoosh where it splits the peloton, because of course we have seen that as well, haven't we, in real life on the road. Now we are back in with the category 2 riders. We are at just over 11 kilometers traveled. So they have come down and through that second sprint, and they are now transitioning to the bottom of the climb. And indeed, we are going to see the results of that second sprint. And ironically, it is the railway sprint. So Lopez goes through with 5 points, Hermassen picking up 4, Engstrom picking up 3, Haag picking up 2, and Miller rounding out the points, picking up 1 point in the second sprint of the day.
Socorro Lopez of Cycling Stars team is on serious form. She's riding strongly all the time, but one of the things that I was really interested to see watching the women's racing yesterday was that we had a lot of sprinters climbing well, but they were short hills and it was constantly rolling terrain. So the ability to sprint recover comes in handy when you have a very rolling, very fast undulations, not massive climbs. And it was a much more, here you go, ripply course. It was a rippled surface almost when you looked at the course profile. Here, it's not ripples, they are much more bigger waves that are coming in, with those big sevens, the big rises for the big climbs. But in between, you've got much more wavy terrain, and that for me means that it's not necessarily going to be as easy for the sprint style riders to do as well.
Well, I'm thinking that's going to be a really interesting to see how that plays out, because you are right, Matt. Some of these stages are very much clearly set up for sprinters. Some of them are set up for the more mountain riders, and Lopez absolutely benefiting from the sprint finishes that we have seen over the last few days. But she's very clearly a sprinter and very strong, and the climbs we've seen so far have benefited those who can kick out high power because they've been short. Well, today is the first time we are really going into the longer climbs, and of course that will get more and more as the days progress. So, but one of the things, you know, let's give Lopez absolute credit, because she is absolutely showing that age does not count. She's our masters rider, and she is absolutely handing it to them. Now back in with category one. Category one now coming up at 3.8 kilometers for the sprint. Let's see who has the legs today.
So here we go, rolling through the sprint. What tactics are the riders going to employ? Look for a flyer from the back. Keep watching the top right-hand side of the screen for a dot that moves from the very back to the very front. You can see the progression. You can see the rider going flying down the left-hand side there. And that shows you that the speed is up. They've used the momentum. They've used the draft to come in and through. Never lead out a sprint on an esports platform, because the odds are you are not going to put in the fastest time. If you are in a group, they can come from behind and come through at speed. Can't wait to see the results. Well, I'm not going to have to. Here they are. Take us through them, Emma.
Well, look at that. Montoya coming through there first in front of Quevedo, Sanchez, Kokkonen and Brogan. So looking like we've got a different finish there.
Well, let's see. Remember, of course, all of the results are live at the moment. It certainly looked to me that if that result is verified, that was some incredibly smart riding by Montoya when you've got Quevedo going through it, double the watts per kilo. I suspect that may well get reversed. We will, of course, catch up with those results on the website. Remember, of course, we have our 3 states, the live, unofficial and official race results. So they're basically only official when they become verified. So really interesting to see. And of course, this is all part of riding on esports, that you do find that you get riders come through and put in some fantastic performances. We know that Montoya is fast. So our riders out and racing. They're going to make their way into the descent over the bridge. A brief pause for them in terms of climbing. A nice downhill run should give us just about enough time to have a check through. It's going to be of our prize money, because of course category 1 get the biggest prizes as being our fastest riders. So $10,000 for first place in the individual classification, the general classification overall, $1,000 for 10th, and then $42,000 for our teams. 3 riders to count in that team competition. Our sprints, our youth, our mountains and our masters winners, $5,000, and that is at the end of all of our stages. Each day, each stage winner will take away $1,000. Our sprint winner on that day, $500, and it's the same prize of $500 for our mountains winner on each and every stage. So huge prize fund, and it is there for the taking. The riders have to be able to perform, keep all the kit together to make it count. So let's see who's going to be taking that away now. Away from category 1, we're going to drop back in with category 3. We saw Terry Tandigan go on the attack. Emma, 30 seconds nearly here from Tandigan. We've got to remember, of course, she's well down the road. She's at 19k at the moment. So that means that she is going to be on the way, probably around the top of the mountain, I suspect, and about to head down. Indeed, she is.
Yeah, well, what's interesting, Matt, is Tandigan has kept her powder dry for the first 2 stages. We've not seen her poke her head out of the bunch at all. In fact, we've hardly seen Tandigan at all. Now we are moving towards the first real mountain stage. Tandigan is the rider on the attack, and I think this is an intention for the overall, because I think she thinks she can get a really good time gap today. So Tandigan, we know, is a strong rider. We've seen her perform really well on the Sunday Race Club, but we have not seen her for the first 2 stages of the MyWhoosh Championships. Tandigan now pushing on. She's gone over that first category 3 climb. She's on the descent and moving out. She'll be utilising that rolling terrain, I think, between the 2 category 3 climbs today, and I think this is an intention for the overall. Interesting, Corollas and Jenny Tan, Lopez, Molina, Walkenhorst are the riders chasing. Now, those are the riders with the most to lose, and they are absolutely pulling on now.
So category 3 working the way up and through, and you can see here, this is the run up. We just seen the riders coming in the opposite direction, and this is because of the fact that we go up the climb, We then go round the top and then we drop back down again. So you can see riders coming in both directions. So this is essentially a long run up. And if you remember back to the amount that you saw at the start, now section as you came towards the bottom left-hand side, we came up the climb, round the loop, and then we're dropping back down.
Yeah, so Tanningen is away. This is the chase group we've got in front of us here. Carmona, Walkenhurst, Carolus, Agudelo, Molina. And then we have a gap of around 12 seconds back to the third group on the road, which is Mabin and Botero.
So let's see how these riders get on the climb. So just taking a little look at the climb segment itself. I'm just going to double check my times on here. I'm just taking a little bit of a look at category 3 whilst we've got category 1 on our screens. And I suspect that group climbed quicker. So Tandigan's move going clear. She did lose a little bit of time on the climb itself, but she put in the work beforehand that got a slightly bigger gap. So that was happening just off our screens. But that's why these segments and the individual category timings up there are so important, because they give us an extra little bit of a window in when we can't physically watch all 4 simultaneously in maybe the same level as detail as we can one category. But of course, with it providing extra racing, it's even better because we've got so much going on. So taking a look at category 1 on the left-hand side of your screen, category 2 on the right-hand side of your screen, in with Lisa Hermansen here. Lisa Hermansen has been strong all the way through. She's a regular on the Sunday Race Club, and certainly looking like at the moment comfortable in that pack.
Yeah, absolutely. And that category 2 race field now on the foot slopes of that category 3 climb. Look at the size of that group. The gradient now kicking to 4.2%, but nothing really happening in that race other than the pack happy and content to ride up the climb together.
Happy and content. That's not a word you expect on the climb.
Well, I'm looking at the watts per kilo and I'm looking at the heart rate of Hermansen at the moment. Her heart rate sub 150. She's doing about 2.3 to 3.3 watts per kilo. Just starting to pick up a little bit there as the gradient kicks. But it is, I don't want to use this word, but at the moment it's a comfortable climb.
Yeah, I noticed you whispered that almost.
I did.
Because
I don't want anyone to hear.
well, unfortunately, you're going out across the airwaves on YouTube. And don't forget, of course, you can subscribe to YouTube. So if you want to hear Emma whispering tactics and things she doesn't want you to hear, or our riders to hear, then make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel. Emma and I are bringing you all the action on the Sunday Race Club. We've been doing so for the over a year now, and looking forward to another year of bringing lots more action on Sunday Race Club, which usually do with both of us, myself, Matt Payne, and Emma Martin. But Emma will be taking the lead on some of those when I'm off on other duties, and vice versa. So it is going to be a really interesting year, and I'm really looking forward to that, based on the back of the performances that we get in the racing. And that is going to affect riders differently depending on what kind of race they've had and how they recover from this race going into the race club. Now, you can see 4 screens up and running. So category 1 top left hand side, category 2 top right hand side, bottom left hand side is category 3, bottom right hand side category 4. Emma, very similar races from all our categories, I think, today.
At the moment, definitely yes, and it's going to be interesting to see in the latter half whether the tactics remain the same, similar or different. You know, each day we have seen, well, for the last 2 days, we have seen one category with different tactics each day, and the other 3 categories pretty much riding the same way tactically into the finish. Whether that has been 3 sprint finishes and 1 lone breakaway, which is what we saw on day 1. We saw 3 sprint finishes and 1 lone breakaway yesterday, but it played out in different categories.
Yep, very interesting to see how that plays out. Now, of these 4 categories, category 1 are on their way in towards sprint number 2. That comes at 10.6 kilometers. So they're probably the next riders who's going to get to a time check or a key part in the mountains or sprints competition. As we look down, you can see that category 4 are now down off the mountain, and they are not going to be all that far off of hitting their sprint. They're at 26.1. That will be their 3rd sprint. In fact, they've gone through that. I'm just taking a look. They are at 29.8. So, in fact, they're past their third sprint and heading in towards their fourth. They're absolutely rocketing along. And the riders in category 3 are actually, in fact, now on the way into sprint number 3. So,
Yeah,
the
they are
riders are
indeed.
absolutely flying around the course today. And remember, of course, this is a 50-kilometer course.
Yeah, there is indeed, and you can see it's a 50-kilometer course, and our Category 3 riders are pretty much coming up for halfway. They are down off of the mountain now and on the flat section before the sprint at 26.1 kilometers. But we can see here, Tandingen has indeed got a 450-meter lead on this chase group. So Lopez, Tan, Molina, Carmona, Cabanaton, all part and parcel of that chase group. Terry Tandingen, the rider, the lone leader at the moment in this Category 3 race, now with around 44 seconds. So I think Tandingen here is stretching this lead. She's stretched this lead on the descent off of the first Category 3 climb today, and she is on the flatlands now and continuing to stretch that time out, now up to a 50-second gap. So for me, Matt, this is a GC contender move from Tandingen today. She's utilising these climbs through Alula. What do you think of her tactics?
I'm actually in awe. I'm sat here in the commentary unit in awe because to hold your nerve in stages 1 and 2 when everything's starting to kick off takes real composure. To then find that you've got a game plan, to then find that you execute it and it starts to work, to then continue to execute that really, really is fantastic riding. It shows some really serious dedication and skill. And I'll be honest, I don't have that self-control on stages 1 and 2. Never to be able to do that on stage 3. So I am in
You'd
awe.
want to go from the gun. She has got her head on her shoulders really firmly, and she is riding with her head. So all credit to Tandingen at the moment as we drop back in with our Category 1 riders. They are up and coming through the sprint, the second sprint on this course today, the railway sprint. In fact, that is the finish line in front of them. This second 300-meter sprint today, and the riders have kicked hard yet again.
Well, let's see who's going to come through. You can see it's fractured the field somewhat, and this is a dangerous moment in any race, that when you come through a sprint, if you are going through, you go through hard, you can break the group, and that reforming, which we've just seen, doesn't always happen. Now, Karut Quevedo going through with the fastest time. We've seen her time and time again go through with some serious watts per kilo, but look at Jenny Sanchez there coming through. Only half a watt per kilo down on Quevedo. It's Jenny Sanchez finding her sprint legs.
Well, indeed, it is Sprint Golden Wheels, or Golden Wheel Sprints from Sanchez, that team of sprinters showing that they can bring the action. But Quevedo, you know, she has got such a kick, Matt. Her quality of her kick in this Category 1 race is what brings her to that sprint line first.
It is indeed. So Category 1 now through the first 2 sprints. They're going to be heading in towards the climb. Our first categorized climb of the day, the Canyon Peaks climb, a climb which kicks off at 14k or so, and will take us right up to the top. So Category 1 on the way in there. Category 2 at the moment, sandwiched in between the riders we've just seen and the riders on your screen at the moment. These are your Category 3 riders. They're at 26 kilometers almost, which means that they are on the way in towards their third sprint.
Yeah, they are indeed at 26.1 kilometers. That 300-meter sprint number 3 is coming thick and fast for these Category 3 riders. In fact, that is the start sprint banner. So as the riders go under the start sprint banner, we can see this group continuing to ride. And I'm not seeing, I was about to say, I'm not seeing any real action here as I see a rider come down the side. So Lopez and Agudelo, Carmona Walkenhurst putting in some effort there as well, wanting to keep hard on that sprint. So one or two of our riders, Vink is also gone for that. No, sorry, Corollas has also gone for that. I'm confusing my yellow jersey wearers at the moment, but Corollas has also pushed on there, trying to keep those points high in that sprint competition.
So great to see even more sprinting coming through. These riders going absolutely for it, and you can see that in the results. Let's take another look here. So Jenny Tan there, 7.1 watts per kilo. The heart rate matched with Corollas going in and through. Agudelo, Lopez and Walkenhurst, the rest of the point scorers in the group, and everybody really having to go with the sprinters, even if they're not sprinting for the points, because of the acceleration on the way through.
Yeah, but look at that. Terry Tanningen, our lone leader, not even attempting to contend that sprint. So we're looking at there. She's coming up as 11th through there. The breakaway is what is important for her.
So as these riders make their way around the course, it's about time for me to make my way around to our other studios here, Full Speed Events, because I am about to go head off and start the men's race. So I've got to say a big thank you if you've been in and watching. Please continue here with Emma, who will be bringing you all of the action. And then when you're finished, come over and join us. We'll be bringing the men's race to its conclusion, or of course you can always start at the beginning and go right the way through to the end, so do join us there. Emma, enjoy the racing.
Thank you very much, Matt, and we will leave you for a short few moments, viewers, whilst Matt leaves the studio. So Matt has left the studio and is moving over to the men's race, but in front of us we have all four categories in this women's race, and we are looking at the fast and furious pedaling as our category 1 riders come towards the base of that first category 3 climb. Our category 2 riders are up and over and about to start the descent. Our category 3 riders are down and off the mountain. They are through sprint number 3, and our category 4 riders, an hour and 10 minutes of racing under their wheels. They are coming up towards 35 kilometers of racing through sprint number 4 and looking towards sprint number 5. So the course today is a medium mountain stage. We have 50 kilometers of racing and 515 meters of elevation, and you can see from the map in front of you that we have transitioned up the climb, done a turn around at the top and dropped back down the other side of the road through then 3 sprints from the bottom of that climb into the final climb of the day, and that checkered flag which comes 1 kilometer after the final climb segment. So our category 1 riders are still not up and over the first category 3 climb, whilst all our other 3 categories have indeed done that ascent. So category 2 at 21 kilometres, they are now well and truly down off of the mountain, and the riders all still, as you can see on the screen in front of you, we have packs of riders. In fact, the only category where we have a breakaway is in category number 3, and that is Terry Tanningen from Mr. Worldwide. She has put in a lone attack, and we have a chasing group. So here is indeed that category 3 race. Terry Tanningen, you can see on your screen on the right hand side, is up the road. She's up the road by over a minute. So a fantastic attack today from Tanningen. This is the chasing group, and this chasing group contains Mabin, Tan, Bottarero, Molina, Agudelo, Lopez, Corrales, and Walkenhurst. It is a class field in this chase group, and they are going to have to work together, because on the right hand side of your screen is indeed the lone leader, Tanningen. She is now nearly 800 meters ahead of this chasing group, and the group now really starting to push on. Corrales is the rider, really moving here. She is in that yellow jersey. She's got Lopez and Walkenhurst and Tan for company. They are really now starting to push on. Tanningen, though, over a minute up the road. So this category 3 race really hotting up today, with the lone breakaway from Tanningen being chased hard by this chase group. Now, there is a large number of really strong riders in this category 3 chase group, and we would expect to see this as the leading group on the road, but they have been caught out by Tanningen. Tanningen, the rider, really using her head today and attacking and putting in that gap, and that is a GC move. She is putting in as much distance as she can today and utilizing the fact that we have got 2 category 3 mountains today and rolling terrain between them. She has not been evident in the first 2 stages at all. She has kept her powder dry. She has kept her nose and her wheel out of sight. She is hidden in the group, and she has played a waiting game. She's played a waiting game until stage 3, and now with these 2 category 3 mountains, she is trying to put some time on the rest of the field. So we drop back in with category 2 at 23.2 kilometers. They are now coming to the bottom of the descent off of the mountain. So we can see here we've got one rider chasing hard behind. In fact, one rider just trying to get onto the back of this group, and that is going to be absolutely key to make the juncture to the group if you want to get the ride to the bottom of the next category 3 climb. This group containing Hermassen, she is leading this out with Para, Constantine, Haag, Bardeskaya, Miller, Shepherd, Zimmerman, all in this group. They are moving well and moving strongly. Currently just shy of 60 kph as they descend the final stages of this mountain. We've got that lone rider pushing on at the back. That is Quintero by the look of things. I'm just taking a quick check back. Yes, Quintero is the rider off the back, trying to push on there and close that gap down. So doing a really good job as we bring that into the group. Now that group all back together again. We've got a number of riders distanced though after that climb. So Ruiz not making it to the group at all. Just taking a look, in fact, Quintero is actually 30 seconds back, so it wasn't Quintero joining the back of that group. That was one of our other riders just getting distanced. But a strong group of riders, and still a big group of riders in this category 2 race, up and over the first category 3 climb of the day. Now, the next thing these category 2 riders will see is the 3rd sprint at 26.1 kilometers. So whilst our category 2 riders are up and over the first category 3 climb of the day, Our category 1 riders on the left-hand side of your screen are on the ascent. They are on the slopes at 16.5 kilometers. They are well and truly into this climb. So this climb is a 4.6 kilometer climb, and the segment started at 14.3k. However, there was around 400 meters of climbing, the earlier stages, the lower slopes of the climb before the segment started. So a slightly longer climb than the segment itself, but we are watching Cordero. Cordero is putting an attack in, and this is an attack fairly early. There is still around 2 kilometers of this climb to go, so around halfway up, Cordero is now pushing on. It's been a big group just riding the lower slopes of this climb. Cordero now thinking time to go. She is being closed down by Bauer. Now, Bauer indeed a strong performance as we saw yesterday, riding away from the group, and we know a really good climber. So Bauer is the rider to close down Cordero. Quevedo is in there. Donny, Brogan, Carvajal, Bjarhead, Fua is in there as well. These are riders we were expecting to see strong performances for, and they are all in this group, and it is all back together again now as they continue to climb. It is the Canyon Peaks climb, and they are continuing to move through and up as we see another attack on the front, and we've got another rider going off the front here. We've got a rider pushing on at the front now. Who is this that is putting in the next attack? So Bauer is the rider closing this down. It's Kokkonen who pushed on. Cheeky from Kokkonen. So just a cheeky move from Kokkonen going up and over the top. Now Kokkonen very cleverly a teammate of Cordero. So Cordero was the rider we saw push on first. The group was closed down and they came back together again. Then her teammate Kokkonen has gone up and over the top. So interesting 1-2 attack from the Asian Watts team as this group climb this category 3 climb, all pulled back together again now as we see Tejeros take up the mantle. Tejeros and Estrada coming through. Bjarhead putting in a kick as well, not wanting to get distance as we see one rider getting dropped off the back of the group. The riders want to stay in contention, and to do that they need to be with the front of this pack. So we leave our category 1 riders going up the climb. We drop back in with category 3. We've got a stretch on this group at the moment, and that stretch is coming. They're at 33.2 kilometers, at 33.7 in 500 meters. They will come into sprint number 4. So category number 3 coming towards sprint number 4. Sprint number 4 being the Lonely Castle sprint. It is indeed the next thing these riders are going to see. Now we have a lone breakaway in category 3. Terry Tanningen has gone for a long one today. She rode off the front of the group on the descent of the Canyon Peaks climb, that first category 3 climb, and she has now established a really strong lead, looking like that lead now over a minute. So Tanningen absolutely putting in a consummate performance today. This is the chase group, but they are not chasing hard. They are looking at picking up the sprints, and they are looking at each other. So Lopez, Mabin, Molina, Walkenhurst, Carmona, Agudelo, Mabin, all in this group. Bottarello and Carolus in here too as they go under the sprint banner, indicating the start of sprint number 4. So sprint number 4 is underway. Lopez is kicking at 6 watts per kilo. Carolus comes in at 9. That's a big kick from Carolus. She's working her way through the pack. She's utilising that draft. Agudelo's kicking at 10. She's coming with a later charge. Can Agudelo go over the top of Carolus, and will she take the fastest time? Jenny Tan is coming too. These are all strong sprinters, and it's going to be really interesting to see who takes the fastest time through that segment, rather than who was over the line first. So our category 3 riders now through that fourth sprint, and indeed it was Tan who takes that from Carolus, from Agudelo, from Lopez, and Walkenhurst rounding out the top 5 point scorers. Molina there, the first rider out of the points. standing in again, you note at the bottom of that page, she is our lone rider, not contending the sprints at all. More important to continue to push on and continue to establish that lead that she has in that category. Now we drop back in with category number 1, and we saw a lone rider get distanced off of that lead group, and that is Julie Sanchez. So Julie Sanchez, the rider, distanced off of that group on that climb, now at the top of the climb onto the flat segment at the top. Now Julie Sanchez, an absolute strong sprinter, but in terms of the climb, it was Carvajal who has taken the top 5 points in that category 3 climb. So she takes 5 points for the fastest time up the climb. Now Brogan picks up 4, Marin 3, Jose Valdez 2, and Kokkonen picks up 1 point. Estrada just missing out for Forza Donna. So coming down or heading towards the descent on the climb, we've got a flat peak here today on our first climb. On the Canyon Peaks climb, we've got a flat top, and then we drop down onto the descent, and it is that flat top that these riders are on at the moment, and that is due to the fact that the riders turn at the top of the climb and then descend back down the climb they have just come up, and you can see that is what our category 1 riders are doing at the moment. They have done the turn and are about to head into the descent. So Carvajal, Bauer, Fua, Biarhead, Marin, Estrada, Cordero, all in this lead group. Donny is in here well, and Kokkonen, and it was indeed Jenny Sanchez who was off the back of here, because Julie Sanchez is still in this group. So in fact, that is Jenny Sanchez, you can see on the other side of the road, just finishing the climb. As this lead pack drop down onto the descent, the fact they are descending the climb they have just come up allows them to see any dropped riders on the other side of the road. It also allows those dropped riders to see where that lead group is. So we are just picking up on the other side of the road the dropped riders as Carvajal leads this group down with Bauer and Kokkonen, Estrada, Cordero, Tejeros. Brogan is in here as well. These riders, this is a large group of category 1 women. As they pick up speed on this descent, we are now descending at around 6%. It's 60 kph at the moment, and these riders all moving and moving strongly. So looking here with these category 1 women, they are now descending off of the first category 3 climb of the day. So just taking a little look back through the time on the climb to allow us to count how many riders are in this leading group, and by my count at the moment we have 16 riders in this lead group. So 16 riders in the leading group on the category 1 race at the moment, descending off our first category 3 climb. They are coming down the Canyon Peaks climb, and they will then transition into the Elephant Rock Sprint at 26.1 kilometers. So a 4-kilometer descent for our category 1 riders. Donny is in here, Fua is in here. This is an opportunity at the moment. Nobody is pushing on here. An opportunity for recovery. So whilst our category 1 riders take a little recovery on the descent, we drop in with our category 2 riders. Now let's take a look at where this category 2 group are. They are coming up for 30 kilometers of racing. They have done the first 2 sprints. They have gone over the first category 1 climb. They have gone through sprint number 3, and sprint number 4 is the next part of the course facing them at 33.7 kilometers. So still a little way yet for our riders here to before they face that sprint, but this is a leading group, and a large leading group again. So it's looking like we've got 16 riders leading category 1, and we've got another large group leading category 2 at the moment. So Gonzalez Rua is the rider here, just pushing on as they take that right hand corner. Haag, Hamassen, Miller, Zimmerman, Shepherd, Constantine, all in this group. Lopez is here as well, and Giraldo. So Daniel 2, this is a big group of riders, and we will try to see if we can get a number on this group in category 2. So looking like just shy of 15 riders in category 2. It is another large pack, and another large pack of women all together. So we have a breakaway in category 3. We have 2 large groups leading category 1 and category 2. And we have a smaller group of riders, I think around 5 riders in the lead group of category 4. Last time we dropped in with them. In fact, take a look at that. It is still a group of 5 riders in category 4. And those 5 riders, Ella Vink, Amy Loxley, Myra Madeira, Liz Smithson and Christina Pelagio are 5 riders leading that category 4 race now. Just a 20-second lead because Lenore is the rider in the middle. So Lenore, a lone chase rider, 20 seconds back from this group of 5. Then the group further back, 1:45 back to the other riders. So at 42 kilometers under their wheels, they are now into the final sprint of the day, and Vink is the rider pushing. So Ella Vink, the rider in the yellow jersey, is the rider pushing for this sprint. She has been dominating this category, and her sprinting is exceptional as she continues to push here. So Ella Vink pushes, she goes through the line first. Now that does not mean that that is going to be the fastest time or the fastest sprint, but this is Ella Vink, and she is absolutely dominating category number 4. She has got her tactics right, she has got her training right, and she is coming into her own as we see her come through that final sprint of the day. So as Vink comes through that final sprint of the day with the other 4 riders in that leading group in category 4, we drop back in with category number 1. They are coming up for 24.5 kilometers. They are now down off the mountain, and the group is still large. So 16 riders we counted at the top of the climb in this leading group, and they have descended as a group and taken a little bit of a breather and a little bit of a rest in this race. They now will be facing the Elephant Rock Sprint at 26.1k. That is sprint number 3. So category 1 race have 44 minutes of racing now complete. They are coming up for the 25-kilometer mark. They are coming up for the halfway point in this race today. As our category 1 riders come up for sprint number 3, our category 2 riders on the right hand side of your screen, again a large group of around 15 riders, they are coming up for sprint number 4 at 33.7 kilometers. So category 1 coming up for sprint 3, category 2 coming up for sprint 4, category 3 coming up for 40k of racing shortly under their wheels, chasing Terry Tanningham, the lone leader. Category 4 on the bottom right of your screen, just over 43 kilometers. They have now completed all 5 sprints and the first category 3 climb on this course today. Left now for them is the final category 3 climb, which will take them up to the top, and it finishes 1 kilometer before the checkered flag. So it's our category 4 riders who started first today. They have 1 hour and 30 minutes of racing under their wheels. They are shortly going to be coming up to that final climb of the day, and they will be our first group to finish. Now we have a lead group of 5 at the moment. It is Pelagio, Madeira, Vink, Smithson and Loxley in that leading group. Our category 3 riders are not yet at the 40-kilometer mark. Shortly they will be crossing that point, and then they will have 10 kilometers to go. our category 1 race. Now we have a leading group of 16 riders in this category 1 race, and they are now not far off of sprint number 3, whereas our category 2 race, a leading group of 15 riders, are around 500 meters before they start sprint number 4. So we are going to drop in with our category 1 riders. They are going to sweep round this right hand bend, and they are going to see that sprint banner, and that is the start of sprint number 3. So a couple of riders just dropping off the back there, utilising the draft as they pick up and kick, and look at that kick. Now that was a classic tactic there for a phenomenal sprint, because the rider who dropped right to the back of the group, she gave herself a run into the back. She's utilised the draft all the way through and gone over the top. Now that is indeed Quevedo showing you absolutely perfect sprint technique on the MyWhoosh platform. So Quevedo, she looked as though she was dropping back off the group. She gave herself a gap. She gave herself a gap to run into the group, and she has drafted off every single one of the other 15 riders in that group to come through and try to take the fastest time in that sprint. She's utilised that absolutely perfect sprint technique, and that is how to do it. So Quevedo picking up maximum points in that sprint with her absolutely superb sprint technique. Brogan picking up 4 points, Geraldo Arrayas 3, Kekkonen 4, and Fua picks up the final point available in that sprint competition for the Elephant Rock sprint, sprint number 3 today. So we drop back in with Quevedo as the group reassembles after that sprint. Quevedo showing us constantly great sprint technique. Now in with category 2. They're at 34.3 kilometres, and they've just gone through sprint number 4, which was at 33.7k. The Lonely Castle sprint was what this group have now been through. On the descent, on the after stages of it, we've got a small group just pulling on the front here. In fact, Lopez is part and parcel of that pull with her Masson. They're just trying to ensure that that group continues to move. So just dropping into the results of that Lonely Castle sprint. Lopez, she is dominant at the moment, and that sprinting ability is really keeping her in star position. So Lopez in 1, her Masson in 2, Ungstrom in 3, Constantin in 4, and Haag in 5, rounding out the point scorers in that sprint. So Bardeskaya is the rider who misses out there, but all together still in this leading group, and all coming together as they transition now to what will next be at 42k, sprint number 5. So it's an 8-kilometre transition between sprint 4 and sprint 5 for our category 2 riders. The terrain is rolling, so it is not a flat transition as these riders all continue as a pack now, with a bit of recovery coming in here. So Lopez, the rider we are in with at the moment, currently watts at 143 and a heart rate down at 147. So 72 revs per minute and a watts per kilo of 2.5. That's a good steady pace now in this race for Lopez, ensuring her heart rate is not at its maximum, it's at a manageable level, and she's riding with para as well as the rest of that leading category 2 pack. So our category 1 race field, this group still all together at the moment, and we can see here we are in with Cordero, Jose Valdez is in here, Kekkonen, Marin, Tejeros, Carvajal, Brogan, Bauer, Estrada, Donny, Fua is in here as well. These riders in this leading group of 16 riders in this category 1 race, they are coming up for the 30-kilometre mark. They have got 50 minutes of racing on the clock. They were our last category to start today, and currently moving well. So this group of category 1 riders are on day 3, which is stage 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships. It's a 50-kilometre course today, 515 metres of climbing, as we see Cordero stretch her legs again. So Cordero, for the second time, just stretching this group here on the category 1 race. It's the second time she's done this now. Cordero stretched last time. She got called back by the group, and then Kokona, her teammate, went up and over the top. Now Cordero is the rider to go again. Bauer is chasing her down. Brogan is there as well. Both of those riders from the Crank Sisters not wanting a breakaway to go. So Bauer and Brogan pushing on. Carvajal and Tejeros are also helping now. So just bringing the breakaway rider Cordero back, and it's going to be interesting to see whether one of her teammates goes up and over the top again. So whilst category 1 play cat and mouse on the transition between sprint 3 and 4, this is at the moment 42.3 kilometers. That was the end banner of sprint number 5 for our category 3 riders. Now we've seen some domination here from we've seen some domination here from Carolus through the sprints, but Carolus was not the rider who took it, or Tan. Agudelo is the rider who picks up maximum points in the final sprint of the day for our category 3 riders. Tan picking up 4 points, Carolus 3, Walkenhorst 2, and Lopez rounding out the point scorers for our final sprint of the day. So our category 3 sprint competition is over for the day. They now have the final category 3 climb in the Queen of the Mountains, and then 1 kilometer to that finish line. We are starting to see this stretch now, and this is an interesting move here. So after that final climb, final sprint, we've started to see a push on. We've got 4 riders away. We've got a chase group, and we've got a rider off the back, but this group now all pushing on to come back together because they know this is a really important part of this course. They've got Terry Tanningen, the lead rider down the road, and they may well be fighting for 2nd, 3rd and 4th, but there is also the opportunity to win that Queen of the Mountains on that final climb today as well. Now a little bit further down the road, coming up for 47 kilometers with 3k to go. This is our category 4 race. Now we had a group of 5 riders together coming into this climb: Pelagio, Vink, Madeira, Loxley and Smithson, and they are now on the slopes of this final climb. The final climb 2.4 kilometers in length. It goes from 46.6k to 49 kilometers. We then have 1 kilometer run into the finish from the top of this climb, but this is the Queen of the Mountains competition, and this is also potentially a decider as to who crosses the line first if you can get a gap on this climb. Now Pelagio is the rider who has pushed on. She has Vink for company right on her wheel, so Ella Vink not wanting to let Pelagio go, so Vink just minding, not pushing on and going past, but just staying on that wheel and modulating her power and her effort at the moment, so just holding that wheel. Loxley, the rider in 3, continuing to move and continuing to try and close down the gap because Loxley is only 1 second back. Amy Loxley really working strongly here as we see the other 2 riders pushing on as well. So whilst our category 4 riders are in the latter stages of the competition of the race today, Cordero is making this stick at the moment. Cordero is the rider in category 1 who has pushed on. This is her 2nd attack to this category 1 group, and she is bringing it to them at the moment. She's pushing at 4.3 watts per kilo, but it's Gemma Brogan from the Crank Sisters that has come to the front of the group. Brogan is being joined by Bauer and Tejeros. She is being joined to close this gap down, and she has indeed, and she is towing the rest of the pack towards Corderos. So Corderos, the rider here who has put the attack in, but she is not the rider. Cordero is not the rider who is going to take that breakaway at this moment in time. She is going to have to try again if she wants to go clear, because Brogan from the Crank Sisters has closed the gap and pulled the group back. So at 32 kilometers, our category 1 group are coming up for the 4th sprint of the day. Category 3, Tanningen is now into the final 4 kilometers of racing, and she's got over 1 kilometer of lead on the rest of this category 3 bunch. So Tandingen riding really strongly and putting in a huge time gap now to the rest of the category 3 field. This could well be a GC winning move unless we can see anybody else come to the fore in the big mountain stages as we move through this championships. Terry Tandingen absolutely giving it her all today and laying down the gauntlet in this category 3 race. So Tan and Lopez are the ones chasing, and they are absolutely moving on. And in fact, Tan has now put an attack into that chase group. Tan wants to put as much time between her and the rest of the riders as well in this category 3 competition as Terry Tandingen. Now, it's not going to be the distance that Tandingen has put in because Tandingen went much earlier, but Tan is now going to see what she can do. She's got 5K to go, and she has got a time now to push on, and this is it. This is Jenny Tan's move. Elena Lopez is the rider chasing behind with Carmona, but Tan has been allowed to get away from this group. So as Tandingen moves in to just over 3 kilometers to go, she is about to come up onto that climb. So Terry Tandingen on to the final climb of the day. She's got a 2.4 kilometer climb ahead of her, whereas our category 1 riders at 33 kilometers have got around 600 meters before they see the start of sprint number 4. So our category 1 riders look as though they are all back together again in one large group, and they are moving into sprint number 4. So sprint number 4, the Lonely Castle Sprint, 300 meter sprint, sprint number 4 today, and our category 1 riders will be the last riders through this segment. So can anybody challenge Karub Quevedo for the sprints in this category 1 race? Does anybody want to challenge Karub Quevedo for the sprints in this category 1 race? Part and parcel of the Crank Sisters team. She's doing an astounding job and utilizing perfect technique to take these sprints at the moment. So she has got 100 meters until we see the start of that sprint banner. As look at that, we see Quevedo come towards the back of the group. Quevedo's coming towards the back of the group, and she's been joined by Kekkonen, so I'm imagining Kekkonen is going to try and go for this sprint as well. So Quevedo kicks at 10 watts per kilo, Kekkonen kicks at 9. They are both utilizing the same technique to come through the group, utilize the draft and push on. The other riders are making sure that they stay and they don't lose the break, but it is indeed Quevedo, Brogan and the riders pushing on here. Kekkonen is also going for this, so these riders coming through here. We are seeing Quevedo go over the top. She took that from the back of the pack to the front of the pack, and Kekkonen was the rider who tried as well with exactly the same technique. And it's going to be interesting to see whether that paid off, because it'd be interesting when the results come up. But Quevedo is not stopping at the moment. She's continuing to push on, and she's ensuring that group are going to have to work hard to continue to stay with them. So the Lonely Castle Sprint, Quevedo indeed taking that sprint and the maximum points there. Geraldo Arrayas picking up 4 points, Brogan 3, Marin 2, and Tejeros 1 point. So all these results are live at the moment, and take a look at that. Kekkonen has just come through the line and indeed knocked out Geraldo Arrayas for second place. So Kekkonen, while she was nowhere near the front of that group at all, she picks up 4 points in that sprint competition, again utilising the same technique as Quevedo, dropping to the back of the group, working her way through, utilising the draft and picking up huge amounts of momentum to come through into second place. Now we have got some action happening on the front of this category 1 race. They've come through this sprint and they have not regrouped particularly quickly, and they are moving through as we drop back into the category 4 race. So our category 4 riders were the first riders away this morning. They 1 hour and 45 minutes of racing. 48.8 kilometers, coming up for 48.9. They are on this final category 3 climb, and it is Pelagio who has pushed on. Loxley is there as well, and Vink. So we've got Christina Pelagio, who we are in with at the moment, but Vink and Loxley are up the road. So Pelagio was our early leader in this climb. Loxley and Vink have come past her, and it is going to be Pelagio here we see going through that banner, but Ella Vink is further up the road. She has got 800 meters to go now until she sees that finish line, and she has kicked for the finish line early. So Vink kicking for the finish line with 800 meters to go. She's adamant she wants this win today. So Vink kicking hard. Loxley in too. Loxley has taken the climb. Loxley now behind. She's got 200 meters behind Vink, but Vink is pushing on and pushing on hard. Loxley seems happy with second place today, and the Queen of the Mountains competition, she's going to have to watch Pelagio behind her and Smithson as they climb up behind. But Vink is the rider who is pushing on here. She's through the tunnels at the moment. She's got 500 meters to go. So Vink, our category 4 yellow jersey, where it is showing us what she has made of and what has happened and why she is wearing that yellow jersey at the moment, because she is pushing at the top of this climb. She's got 450 meters until she sees the finish line. Loxley in 2, 5 seconds back. Pelagio in 3 at 28 seconds. Smithson in 4 at 1 minute, and Madeira in 5 at 1 minute 40. So Vink has Loxley behind. If she turned her head, she would be able to see her coming up the climb behind her as the gradient is kicking at 8.6 watts per kilo. A little bit further down, Pelagio is on a seriously steep section at 14%. So Vink in 1. She's coming up for 350 meters to go. Pelagio is coming up for 450 meters to go as she continues to push. She's in 3rd position at the moment. She's got Loxley ahead of her in 2 and Vink in 1. Loxley continuing to keep close to Vink. She's just 7 seconds down, but Vink is now coming into the last 150 meters. The gradient has eased off as Vink will shortly see the finish banner. So I said the gradient had eased off, but the gradient is pushing steeply now as Vink faces 14% under her wheels. This is the last section, and we can see the finish line, but she can't. She's got shortly, she was going to see this finish line as she comes up this climb. So Vink sees the finish line ahead of her. She's got 50 meters till she crosses it. She has kicked in the final 1 kilometer here and put a gap in to take the win in stage 3. Vink is going to take the win at the top of this climb in stage 3, day 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships, category 4. So congratulations go to Ella Vink for winning the category 4 race on stage 3. Amy Loxley gave it her all. She is going to be rewarded with 2nd place here today. So Loxley comes through the finish line. So a little bit further down the mountain, Pelagio is fighting for 3rd place. Smithson is closing in. Smithson is closing in. She's 26 seconds back and moving up, but Pelagio sees that finish line, and Pelagio is the rider who is going to take 3rd place today in category 4. So Vink, Loxley, Pelagio, Smithson is going to be the next rider in today. So Smithson going to be the rider in 4th. So we leave our finishing category 4 riders and we drop back in with our category 1 group. And it is indeed a group. We saw an attack from Cordero earlier and a lead and a group, but we saw a chase bringing her back down. They are coming up towards 38 kilometers. So the sprint number 5 at 42, but they are heading towards the final 10K of this race. So we have seen the finish in our Category 4 race. This is the finish in our Category 3 race as we are in with Molina and Carmona. Now these have caught Tandingen has been caught on the climb. Now last time we saw this Category 3 race, Tandingen was a long way down the road. This final climb looks as though it has broken her. So Tandingen broken by this final climb. Carmona and Molina have caught her and gone up and over the top. So Carmona is the rider leading here. She's got 500 meters to go. Tandingen is 40 meters, 60 meters behind. So Carmona absolutely showing how it is done in Category 3 on this final climb of the day. She has gone up the heritage climb, and Molina and Carmona in 1 and 2 up the climb have caught Tandingen. So phenomenal climbing from Molina and Carmona in the latter stages of this race. Their legs much fresher from not chasing hard when Tandingen put that early attack in. So as we look here with 200 meters to go, Maria Carmona is the rider coming through in this Category 3 race. Molina and Carmona, the two riders, went past Tandingen. Lopez now as well. So we have a race on here. Carmona just coming up past, utilising the motivation of the back of one of those Category 4 riders as Carmona pushes on here. Carmona looks as though she's going to take the win in this Category 3 race. So Maria Carmona sees that finish banner. She is our young rider at the moment. She is wearing that jersey under 23 competition. So Carmona climbing strongly at the finish of this race to take number 1 in that Category 3 race. A little bit further back, Molina is looking like she is going to be rider 2 in that race. So Anna Molina coming through for 2nd place. Lopez is the rider a little bit further back down. She is going to come up this climb now in this steep section, and then she's going to see that finish line in less than 100 meters. So Lopez has come past Tandingen in the latter stages of this climb. She has gone past Tandingen, our early leader in this race, and she is moving into and onto the podium in 3rd position today in this Category 3 race as she sees that finish line, and through she goes. So it is all change here in this Category 3 race. Terry Tandingen had put in a massive effort today to be our lone leader for most of the stage, but caught in the final sections of this final Category 3 climb. But she is rewarded with 4th place over the line today. So whilst our Category 3 riders are coming through the line, we are back in now with our Category 2 riders. So our Category 2 riders currently at 45.2 kilometres into this race. So they are shortly about to come onto the foothills of this climb. So this final climb today, the heritage climb, the segment starting at 46.6k and finishing at 49 kilometres, giving us a 1 kilometre run into the finish. And that 1 kilometre is not flat. It is really steep with a gradient kicking up to 14%. So once our riders are through the banner of the climb, the climbing is not over. They continue to climb to the finish line, and that finish line 1 kilometre further on. So both of our riding groups out on the road now, our Category 2 and our Category 1 racers in the final 10k. Our Category 1 pack all together here, currently coming up for 40.5 kilometres. They're 1.5 kilometres off of sprint number 5, our final sprint of the day. Our Category 2 lead pack, and what a lead pack that is. So that pack in that Category 2 race, a huge pack of riders at the moment, mixed in with a couple of back markers in that Category 3 race by the looks of it. But let's just check out the standings of the categories that have finished. So category 4 results, the overall results of stage 3 today. Elevink taking that win in 1 hour and 48 minutes, 56 seconds. So 20 seconds back, Amy Loxley in 2, Christina Pelagio in 3, Liz Smithson taking 4, and Myra Madeira taking 5. Carla Lenore, rounding out our results there with 6th place. So 6 finishers so far in that category 4 race. Our category 3 race also through that finish line, 1 hour 37 and 18 for Maria Carmona, taking the win today for Mr. Worldwide. Melina Lopez coming through in 2nd and 3rd. Tandingen taking 4th, our lone leader for a lot of today, and Carolus, our yellow jersey wearer, going into the stage, taking 5th place today, 1 minute 57 seconds back from our winner Maria Carmona. So as we see the results of our category 3 and category 4 race, our category 1 and category 2 riders are still out on the road. So our category 2 race, we're just watching now Lopez just off the back of the group, and now Lopez in the leader's jersey, but just not in that pack at the moment. So interesting to see. This is our category 2 race. So currently now at 46.8 kilometers. They are now on the lower slopes of the Heritage Climb. This is the final category 3 climb of the day, and as we have seen in our category 3 race that has now completed, it was all change on these final slopes. So will it be all change for the jersey wearers in our category 2 race? It is Shepherd who is pushing on, but Agudelo has come past, Engstrom is there, Lopez has come back through the group. She's utilised some momentum and some pace, and she's kicked on, and she's kicked hard. Constantine is there as well, as we see our category 1 riders on the left-hand side of the screen just going through that final sprint, and my money is on Quevedo yet again on that sprint for the category 1 race, because I saw her coming through exceptionally fast as we transitioned from our category 2 to our category 1 race, and take a look at that. It is indeed Quevedo from the Crank Sisters picking up maximum points. Brogan from the Crank Sisters in 2, picking up 4 points. Geraldo Arrayas from Risky Biscuits picking up 3. Kokonen from Asian Watts picking up 2. And her teammate Tejeros rounding out that top 5 and picking up that final 1 point. So our category 1 field are through the final sprint of the day, the sprint of the old team sprint, and they are now through all 5 sprints. That sprint competition now pretty much wound up, and Quevedo dominating yet again. So whilst our category 1 riders transition into this final climb, they've got 4.3 kilometers to get under their wheels before they see the slopes go skywards. Seeing the slopes already go skywards are our category 2 race field. They are coming up for 48 kilometers, 2 kilometers to go, and it is a race for the sky here, because we have got an absolutely epic battle going on. The pack came in, and it was a large pack of over 15 riders. They are all still together, but they are strung out across this mountain. So currently the gradient just easing down to 3% there, and take a look at this. This is our category 2 race field spread out at the moment, and we can see the charge on from the back of the field, utilizing the lower gradient to kick and try and come back. As the gradient kicks again to 10%, we're seeing the fight, we're seeing the battle here. Enstrom, Haag, Constantine, Klein, Shepherd, Lopez, Parra, Geraldo, all pushing and pushing hard. Zimmerman going into the red as well. These women absolutely fighting with everything they've got to get to the top of this climb first. So our category 2 race really coming alight now on these stages and this segment of this category 3 climb. This is the heritage climb, the final climb of the day. They've got 1 kilometre from the top of this climb to the finish line. It is not flat. It continues to kick, and it kicks really steeply from the top of this climbed segment to the finish line, but it is kicking really steeply at the moment under the wheels of our riders. It's just shy of 13%, and it is breaking up this category 2 race field. You can see 2 groups now forming very clearly on the top right hand corner of your screen. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 riders now in this leading group, being led by Engstrom. Haag is there as well, coming up and over the top. Constantine there too. Hermassen, Lopez, Shepherd, all in the mix as these riders continue to push, as this gradient continues to kick, and we keep seeing riders just dropping back. And in fact, our yellow jersey rider was in danger. I was just about to say that as she kicked on, but 3 riders looking like they're going clear at the moment, and Engstrom is doing an amazing ride today. So Engstrom riding so strongly from the strong women. She is living up to that name as she pushes on. Constantine here is the rider now on the charge on this downhill section. This is a technical climb with downhill sections utilizing the momentum, and the riders coming fast and furious behind with that momentum. It's Hermassen and Engstrom coming up to the back wheel of Constantine. Shepherd is there as well. This is a strong group of women here in this category 2 race, and they are absolutely showing us what they've got on this climb. So 5 riders clear now in this category 2 race. Came into the bottom of this final heritage climb, this category 3 climb today, that takes us up towards the finish with a group of 15 riders, and it has been whittled down with attack after attack. We now have 6 riders in this leading group. So Haag, Engstrom, Coinstein, Hermassen, Lopez, all in this group. Giraldo is the rider next with Parrott, 6 seconds back. So this leading group have 6 seconds, and at the front of this group it is Shepherd and Haag who are pushing on. So Lopez comes up and over. Shepherd is there, Haag is there as well, as they go through the banner indicating the end of the climb segment, still with 1 kilometre to the finish line. So Samara Shepherd is the first rider through underneath the banner indicating the end of the climb. She drops down here, and then the gradient will start to kick again on that 800-metre run into the finish. So a little bit further back down the road, we've got Zimmerman and Miller. Klein is there as well. They are about to come up to the banner indicating the end of that climb as Shepherd continues to push. So Shepherd leading this race out at the moment, but Constantine coming through. Lopez is with her. They are snowballing over the top of Shepherd. Shepherd digging hard because the last 500 meters are coming. So Constantine, Shepherd, Lopez, 2 seconds separating them. Haag 2 seconds back. Can Haag make it back onto this group of 3 riders as Lopez kicks and kicks again as the gradient hits 15%? So this is our category 2 finish on stage 3. We are day 3 of an 8-day MyWhoosh Championships for 2023. This is the category 2 women's race playing out in front of us at the moment, and Lopez is the rider kicking on here. She carried the yellow jersey from yesterday into this race today, and she is absolutely dominating here. So Lopez pushing on. She's now got 5 seconds back to Shepherd. Shepherd pushed on the climb, and she is chasing and chasing hard, but as she comes out into the daylight from the tunnel, she can hardly see Lopez ahead. Lopez has got 170 meters to go. So our category 2 race here today, coming to the final parts of the story as we see Lopez coming up here, but Shepherd is kicking again. So Shepherd is not out of this yet. Shepherd may only have 80 meters to go, but she is going to give Lopez a run for her money as Lopez kicks again. Shepherd is coming, but Lopez is going to take this. Lopez is your winner in our category 2 race today as Shepherd comes through for second place. So Constantine, the rider, in third, coming over the line. Haag is going to come through in fourth. Enstrom, who made early work on the climb, looks like she is going to be rewarded for fifth if she can stay clear. So I think Cornelia Enstrom, there you go, taking a look at that shot. Enstrom has indeed the gap there. She is going to come over the line for fifth place today in 1 hour 35 in our category 2 race. Hermassen and Klein, the next two riders in, coming up and through the line. Wow, what a race in category 2. It is absolutely down to the wire in this women's racing today, and they really are showing us what they have got and the power they can put through those pedals. So, taking a breath. Our category 2 winner today in 1 hour 34 minutes and 40 seconds is Lopez. Shepherd in 2 from Blue Forest Racing. Her teammate Constantine in 3:11 seconds back. Haag from Beast Mode, powered by Rose, coming in 4th. And the free riders rider Montoya coming in 5th. Engstrom, Hermassen, Klein and Para rounding out 6th to 9th place. Only a minute separating that top 9 in that category 2 race, so very little going to be in the GC overall when we get the GC results. So all to fight for in the coming stages in that category 2 competition. So the category 1 competition coming in to the climb now. They are through the foothills and on to the climb proper at 46.6 kilometers. At 47.6 kilometers, it is Bauer who is leading. Bauer, who had put the breakaway in yesterday, has kicked now. Quevedo in 2, Brogan in 3. Now those 3 are all teammates. So Bauer, Cordero is the rider kicking on, and Cordero has used the momentum on that downhill section, kicking into this steeper section very, very well. She's really got that technique nailed as Cordero comes up onto Bauer's wheel. Cordero goes over the top, but she's not the only one. You know, there has been a big kick here from Jose Valdez. Valdez is the one kicking here. Quevedo responds. Estrada is there. Brogan and Tejeros too. This group is not broken. This first kilometer and a half of this climb still has all these class category 1 women together. So taking a look at the back of this group, it's Daniela Marin in here. Now Geraldo Arreyes and Kokona and Donny are the riders who have been dropped in the early stages of this climb. So they are the riders just off the back of the group, around 20 seconds off the back. Marin, Bauer, Cordero, Estrada are in here. So we have 1, 2, 3. I'm just trying to take a look here. Kokkonen is the rider just pushing on here. Can Kokkonen get back on? We know she's a strong rider, but that is a big ask whilst we take a check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 riders I'm counting at the moment in this leading group. So we went in with 16 riders at the bottom of this climb. A kilometre and a half into it, we have 9 riders left at the front of this category 1 race. So the gradient continues to kick, and we see the riders just gapping off the back there, continuing to have to work to get back onto this group. So we have 3 riders now lining up, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 riders. Very clear, but 3 riders now pushing on at the front, and it's no surprise, it's Bauer, Estrada and Brogan. 3 strong riders as Bauer pushes on there. Estrada pushes onto her wheel. We know these 2 can climb, and Brogan comes over the gap there with a bit of a kick to close that down. Jose Valdez is there as well. That is our young rider. So these riders now pushing on. That young rider competition really hotting up, and Jose Valdez showing that she can mix it with the older women here. But it is Jose Valdez, Carvajal, Marin, Estrada, Tejeros. Kokkonen is the rider chasing, and she's chasing now about 12 seconds behind. So we're really starting to see the kicks and attacks coming now in the latter stages of this race. We've got 9 women in this breakaway at the front. So 9 women all still together on this climb, and this is anybody's race at the moment. We've got 1.1 5 kilometers to go as Cordero is the rider at the front here, and Cordero has been absolutely driving the action today. Estrada goes up and over the top, and you can see the banner coming. That's the banner for the end of the sprint, end of the climb. It's covered in red spots. I mean, honestly. So we see the end of the climb there. That is the heritage climb. This is our category 1 race. Having now gone through that climb, that Queen of the Mountains now complete for our category 1 in stage 3, day 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships. We've got less than a kilometer now to the finish line. It is still uphill. It is not a flat run into the finish by any means. It is a steep section into the top, and we are going to see who can take the win here today in category 1. So our category 1 women neck and neck fighting it out today for the win in this MyWhoosh Championships. The GC overall is important, but also are the individual stages. And today they are absolutely neck and neck. Cordero, Jose Valdez, Quevedo, Estrada, Carvajal, Bauer, all fighting for this, but it's Cordero who has really got the bit between her teeth today. She has been the one on the attack. She has absolutely got it nailed, and she is driving hard. Bauer, our winner from yesterday, just in trouble now. Just in trouble, about 60 meters back from the group at the front as Quevedo, her teammate, kicks on. Quevedo is picking this up with Jose Valdez here. They've got 150 meters to go. This is going to be an absolute sprint effort. Can Quevedo be beaten by Valdez in this final sprint? They're going to come up and they're going to see the banner just around the corner as Quevedo kicks at 11 watts per kilo. Jose Valdez kicks at 9. She's going to be beaten. I think Quevedo is going to take this. Quevedo is going to kick really hard, and she's going to take it from our under 23. So Karub Quevedo comes through in 1. Our under 23 jersey wearer comes through in 2. Is Estrada going to make 3, or is Cordero going to catch her? This is going to be Estrada for 3, Cordero for 4, Tijeros for 5. Bauer, I think, is going to come through for 6, but wow, what a fantastic race here. We've got Gemma Brogan and Daniela Marin fighting it out here. This is an absolute fight for minor placings. I think Brogan was just pipped by Marin there, but we'll wait until we see the results. Wow, what a final kilometre in that category 1 women's race. The racing today has not disappointed at all. We have had battle on battle in every single category as we see Novelin Kekkonen come over the line. So our results for the category 1 overall on stage 3 of the MyWhoosh Championships today. Karub Quevedo from Crank Sisters taking the win in 1 hour 26 minutes, 5 seconds in front of second place for Zadonna's Maria Jose Valdez. She is also a under 23 jersey wearer, so congratulations. For Zadonna, her teammate Estrada coming through for 3, Cordero from Asian Watts coming through for 4, Tijeros in 5th, then Bauer, Carvajal, Marin, Brogan Kekkonen, and Geraldo rounding out the top 11. But take a look at those time gaps. They are in seconds. So less than 30 seconds separating the top 9 competitors coming through in that category 1 race. This GC is not over. It is really, really close. Cannot wait for more racing from our women. But if you want to take a look at the results, head over to mywhoosh.com for the results. They are live at the moment. They will then become unverified. And then once all the verification has taken place, our results will become final. So head over there for the results. So stage 3 has not disappointed in our women's racing. We have had fast and furious racing, and we have seen different tactics again, and some of them have worked and others have not played out as expected. So we will be back for stage 4 tomorrow, and it gets steeper as we head towards our highest mountains later in this stage race. So I hope you have enjoyed all the racing today. I have. My name's Emma Martin, and I have been with you throughout. I'm going to head over to the men's race and see how that is going. But if you want to get in contact, get in contact. You can catch me on Instagram at Biking Emma. Obviously, you can follow MyWhoosh on all social media platforms. From myself, from everyone at the team at MyWhoosh, stay safe, enjoy your riding. We will see you tomorrow for stage 4.